So we're in Slush, it's November 2025. Mirko flew in, I think he got in at 1:30 this morning.
Yes.
He's straight into Slush on the Founders and Builders podcast. That's what we love about this event. The talk and the topic of your talk tomorrow is all around fundraising, but what we just talked about and what you just shared with me is focus on building an awesome business first, get to that first million. Could you take us back to like your experience raising this last Series A for Dash0, your company?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just discussed, right? This time my Series A was pretty easy, right? I got 7 term sheets in a week. So it was not like in my first company in Stana. I went for Series A, I went up and down Central Road and did 50 pitches and did not get a term sheet. And finally I got one, right? So it was a real grind, but this time it was easy. And I think there are 2 things. A, I had this exit to IBM within Stana, so fundraising gets easier once you are a founder that had a successful company, right? That's true.
And let's double click on that. So Insana, also an observability platform, similar to Dash0. Tell us about that company, how long you were building it for. You said you sold it to IBM in the end?
Exactly. So the journey, I started in Stana in 2015 with a few others, with the idea of building an observability company in that new microservices space. My first company with venture capital raised a Series A back then from target partners in Germany, then got Excel on board, then for the Series B, Meritech. It was a pretty short ride, to be honest. We sold for $500 million to IBM end of 2020. So overall 5 years from zero to the 500 million exit. And then I stayed for a few months and left. Yeah. So the journey basically was 2015 to 2021.
But you were still obsessed with the problem space. You still felt that observability wasn't a finished job. What was the kind of seed that led to Dash0?
I mean, to be very honest, when I sold in Stana, I said, I will never do a startup again. And absolutely not in observability, right? So, and I told my wife and promised to not do it. And then I went to the beach, hang out, saw that's really boring, started angel investing. And then after 2.5 years, I would say, I haven't looked into the space at all, right? For 2.5 years, I did not look into observability. I was not thinking about building observability, but actually Excel asked me to help them with the due diligence of an observability company. So I looked into that company and I kind of felt this energy again, right? I love the space. I saw a few new developments, this new open standard, open telemetry, and I just got excitement. I felt this excitement and
For those that aren't familiar with the space, tell us what is happening in open telemetry, in observability. Where's that kind of drive coming from?
So first, observability helps you monitor your applications. So it tells you, is your application running well? Are there any errors? Is it slow? And if it has errors or is slow, it will tell you where and how to fix it, right? That's kind of, so it's for developers, SREs, to figure out problems. And I think for the last, it's kind of a 25-year-old space. Wiley and New Relic, AppDynamics, Dynatrace are kind of the first companies in that space. And it was always proprietary. So you buy a vendor, let's say Datadog is the biggest. So you buy Datadog, you install a Datadog agent, and then the Datadog agent sends proprietary data to the backend, and it's all closed, right? You don't know the data format, you can't switch the vendor, you can't get the data out really. And then
And that's their moat.
That's their mode. Exactly. It's a lock-in. It's fair enough, right? But then 5-6 years ago, especially driven by Google or from Google, a famous paper called the DEPA paper, this standard evolved, open telemetry. And the idea is to create a format that is standardizing the data format for all telemetry data, logs, metrics, traces. And the core reason was not getting rid of the lock-in, but the core reason was you now have these platforms like AWS, Google, and they need to provide telemetry data because you can't always install an agent. And how do you do that if there's no standardized format? You don't want to provide the data in Datadog format, in Dynatrace format, Dash0 format. So they basically developed that standard, which is now very established, and people are adopting it because they feel, okay, now I can easily switch between tools. It really provides context. So I got really excited about the standard when I looked at it 2.5 years ago. And then I said, okay, there's not a single vendor on the market who built a tool from the ground up around that standard. So I thought, okay, let's do it.
And the birth of Dash0 came from that.
It came from that, but it was essentially, got into the due diligence. I was on Mallorca, I remember that, and I was sitting with my wife, drank a glass of wine, and I was telling her, and I think she was already annoyed by me, right, being at home. And so she said, okay, do your business, right? Do a startup again. I said, really? She said, yeah, do it. So I incorporated right away. So at that night, I took a credit card, incorporated the Delaware C Corp in the US, and started Dash0. So that's how it worked. Then I called the whole team back together.
Oh, of course, you brought the old team from the first company.
Exactly.
What were the key principles or learnings that you took from that 5-year journey to get to a $500 million exit that you're now bringing into your new company, Dash0?
I mean, one of the things I learned, at Insana, we were pure enterprise sales from day one. And so what I learned is that it's really tough at a certain scale. So when you reach like 20, 30 million in ARR, then you need a lot of pipeline, right? And generating that pipeline, if you need to do it just by outbound enterprise sales motion with SDRs, it's A, super expensive, and B, it's a grind, right? It's hard to build that pipeline. So I wanted a motion where it comes more bottoms up, right? More like a PLG, product growth motion, where people sign up, they use the product, put in the credit card, do a small deal first, and then you can follow up and try to expand it, right? So this time I really built a product that is built for this PLG motion, right? That very different approach from a go-to-market perspective.
And it completely matches, like in every software category, maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was a top-down decision from a CTO or a VP of infrastructure. This is the tool we want. I have a relationship with the vendor, we're going to go with that. But I feel like, and we're hearing this a lot at Slush this year, like times have massively changed.
Totally.
The individual engineers have the power to say, I will work with this tool or I won't.
Totally. It's even the other way around. What I see more and more, as you said, right? I'm in this business for 20, 25 years. 20 years ago, you went to a steak dinner with a CEO and you did a deal, right? These days, they are not doing anymore. The mindset has changed.
Steaks.
Yeah, it's vegan, but also they would tell you, oh, I will not do the decision because I will bring it to my developers or the teams, the technical team. They have to do the decision, right? Because they have the responsibility for those decisions. And I get that. It's a good management style, but that makes it also very different to sell, right? These days, it's more like you have grassroots adoption. Developers don't want to talk to salespeople, right? It's not like you call them and they are happy that the sales guy calls. They just want to find you, test it, have a free trial or freemium version, and then if they feel that it's providing value, then they will talk to you.
We had recently on Lucas B. Wald, the founder of Weights and Biases that you and I were talking about before, and he said to me a couple of times, like, if we get the product right, the documentation is the best sales tool for a developer, right? They want to self-serve, they want to self-onboard.
Self-serve, self-onboard. By the way, I think also AI is a key technology for that, because today we have agents that help you onboard, we have agents that help you create dashboards, alerts, we have agents that help you understand the data, which makes it much more easier to adopt the tool, right, and understand and use observability.
You, alongside being a founder, have also invested yourself in 85 startups. You've become an LP in a few different funds. Talk us through like how you find great companies to invest in and which funds you decide to be an LP in.
I mean, we talked about that. I think I did it in a very unprofessional way, right? I essentially invested in people that I got to know through my network, right? I mean, once you do this, I'm based in Germany. There are not so many companies in the B2B SaaS infrastructure area that exited for $500 million. So once you do that, people reach out to you, right? Can you help me? Are you doing angel tickets? So I got a lot of outreach. And I had time, right? So I talked to a lot of people. I met a lot of investors through that, right? Because I co-invested with a lot, and that creates kind of a network that you get. And then they see that you provide value for startup A. If the investor invests in startup B, they say, hey, wouldn't you put an angel ticket in and have that startup too, right? So that's how it worked, right? I started, and then step by step, I got into that world, and I did, as you said, in 3 years, 85 investments, right?
So you've sat on both sides of the table, and you mentioned that you closed with 7 term sheets in a week for the latest company. How do you build momentum in a round?
I think the way I do it, and what I would talk about, is really, first you have to create relationship. I still think that investment is a lot about people and relationship. So they have to know you. You have to keep them updated. And then at a certain point, you can just feel that somebody, if you create a lot of this FOMO, fear of missing out, then that will trigger them to put a term sheet in front of you. So I think get the first term sheet. And once you have that and you have your network, then you have to create a competitive situation, right? And get more and more investors involved. And that's what I did. I got the term sheet, the first one. Then I reached out to the ones I was in contact with, told them, hey, I have a term sheet if you want to be in the round.
You'd already guaranteed the lead of the round by that time?
No. I just had the term sheet. I didn't sign it. I just said, okay, I have one term sheet. Now I want to see what the market says, right? It's a market. And so I reached out and said, okay, you have a week to give me also a term sheet if you want to be in, right? And that way you create a competitive environment. And VCs can be very fast, right? If they tell you, oh, we need more time, a VC can trigger a term sheet in a day or two, right? That's not a problem for them. That's their business. And so, I got to 7 in a week. Yeah.
So you mentioned, Mirko, that the difference between this and the last business was also how fast you've been able to grow, not just a PLG motion. And you said it was a very non-German way of thinking to invest in growth ahead of where your business is today. What did you mean by that?
Exactly. So, first of all, it's just not a German mentality to be so aggressive as you have to be in this space, right? And I moved to San Francisco. I learned a lot when I was in the US, and now I do things differently. And one of the things you have to learn is that, I give you an example. If you do sales, a normal sales rep does around $1 million in new revenue for you per year. So 1 million. So if you want to grow 20 million, you need 20 reps, right? It's a big team, right? But that's the math. The problem is that it takes about a year to get a salesperson productive. So when you hire, it needs 12 months to get them into position to make a million a year. So, which means if you want to make 20 million next year, you need to hire the 20 people now, right? 12 months ahead. Otherwise, if you hire them next year, then they will still need to ramp and you will not get to the 20 million, right? And that's kind of counterintuitive, because you are now, if you are in a high growth, you're probably today at, let's say, 2-3 million ARR. Next year you want to add 20. So now with 2-3 million ARR, you have to hire 20 people, which creates a lot of burn, a lot of risks. And that's very much against the German mindset of safety and let's first figure it out and then I hire, right? And that's what you have to overcome, right? If you feel that you have traction, that you have product market fit, you have to put gas on the fire.
And that there is a category here, somebody's going to win it.
Exactly.
Is it going to be us?
Yeah. And the winners will be the ones who figure out go to market and go really fast, right? Because it's always about the speed you get into the market. Yeah.
You've hired salespeople and built that team, but you are also salesperson number 1 of Dash0. Have you always been from a commercial background?
No, I'm a software engineer.
Yeah, so lots of people watching this will be developers, product people, designers. What advice would you give on the importance of sales more generally when building a company?
It's very important. Very important to be sales focused, and you just have to do it, right? You have to do cold calling. You have to go in front of customers. You have to do pitching, because that way you learn, right? It's the feedback that you get. And by the way, we just talked about it. I think the only real feedback that there is out there is revenue, right? You can have conversations, that's nice, and people sometimes are excited about, oh yeah, I talked to this and that customer, right?
Really cool.
But yeah, it's cool to talk, right? But really cool is to sell and get the deal and get some revenue. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but a real commitment, real feedback is if somebody says, yeah, I give you $100 a month, right? And then maybe 1,000 a month.
Real
right?
exchange.
There's a real exchange, exactly, a real exchange of value. That's the only feedback. So I always told my founders, You have to get to $1 million in year one, right? And that's the job of the founders. Go out. You will probably not have a sales team yet. You have to get in front of customers and you have to ask the hard questions, right? Not just talking, just, hey, do you have budget? Is that a product you want to have? Do you have that problem? And are you willing to pay me for it, right? Are you buying, right? And if they say no, that means something is wrong. And then ask the question, why not? Right? Why are you not buying? What do I have to do to get you into a position that you want to buy, right? And when you...
Or we might be interested, but maybe not now. Maybe next quarter. Why not now?
Exactly. But then also say, okay, next quarter, let's make a meeting now, right? And if you do that in a high frequency, let's say 2-3 meetings a day, and if you do 15-20 meetings a week, you will get a lot of feedback, right? And you will learn a lot, and then you will probably make the first deals, and then you will start, oh, this is the way I need to pitch, right? This is the way I need to show the value. And then you get better and better and better. And then once you hit that million mark, more or less, I think you're ready for a Series A, but you're also ready to hire salespeople and put gas on the fire.
Mirko, what a great talk. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.